Good morning, Foothill kids. Has your parents ever told you that you were going to go somewhere that is going to be a long drive in the car, that is somewhere like Disneyland, somewhere extra special? When your parents get ready for a long car ride, they might have snacks in the car and plan only to stop for gas or to use the restroom. And you might get a little restless and tired of sitting in the car. Your parent might listen to the traffic news on the radio and decide, well, maybe we won't go right now because of all the traffic. And you don't get to enjoy Disneyland as soon as you wanted because your parents listened to the traffic news. You knew you were promised to go to a special place by your parent and you would get there eventually. Today we're going to talk about a new leader, Joshua. We are going to talk about Joshua, and there was a time God rescued his family when they were slaves in Egypt. He had made a path through the Red Sea and showed them where to go with a pillar of fire at night and a cloud during the day. He gave them water from rocks and food like rain every morning. And he promised too an amazing land, a new home called Canaan. All they had to do was trust God. But sometimes people have a hard time believing that God will take care of them. So for a whole year, God's family worried and complained. They felt they would never get to the promised land where they would be safe and comfortable. And even though God was taking care of them, they were worried he would stop. The leader Moses trusted God with his whole heart. God told Moses to send 12 men into Canaan as spies to see how great it was. So Moses did. One of those 12 men was Moses' helper, Joshua. He trusted God too. Well, Joshua and the other spies spent 40 days in Canaan, and they discovered that the new land was as good as God promised. There was food, water flowed. It was a paradise. It was everything God's family wanted and needed. But there was a problem. People lived there already, and they were big like giants. They lived in a big city called Jericho, protected with a really big, strong wall. The people there were not going to give up their homes, so 10 of the spies came back, terrified. They told them, "We look like grasshoppers compared to the people that live there." When the rest of God's family heard this, they got scared too. They didn't want to go to the promised land anymore. But Joshua knew there was no problem too big for God. Joshua and another spy, Caleb, said, "If God wants to give it to us, he will." God had shown his family how powerful he was. But even though God had taken care of his family, they still chose not to trust him. Because they made that choice, there was consequences. God kept his family in the desert for 39 more years. So long that the adults that chose not to go spent the rest of their lives in the wilderness. God kept taking care of them, but life was nothing like it would be had they been in the promised home. There was a blessing for Joshua and Caleb's obedience. They did live long enough to get to Canaan. God always keeps his promises. God took his family into the promised land, and he chose a new leader who trusted God with all his heart, like Moses did, Joshua. Proverbs 3:5, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding." And what we have learned, don't listen to someone who is negative or doesn't believe God will give you what he has promised you. Psalms 118:8, "It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man." If God says he is going to do something, trust in him and be obedient and don't complain. It's just like if your parents promised you something and you don't throw a fit or complain, you know you will get it. But if you do throw a fit or complain, they can make you wait longer. Have a nice day.